Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. I'm back to my normal routine of saying the introduction. How are you, Pat?
I'm good. I mean, it's 100 degrees here, so of course my AC decided to be intermittent today.
Oh my God.
But other than that, I've got way more energy than I've had the last two times. I feel like 10% of my brain fog is gone, so I'm almost half as smart as you now.
Shut up. I would absolutely have to call in sick if my AC went out. That's what a baby I am about all of it. Like, truly a baby. The fact that you have a smile on, that's amazing.
I got a beer. This show, I can crack a beer. So as soon as I get a sip of that beer in my mouth, I'm good. There's nothing to worry about.
I mean, to me, what that means is you should just be drinking all day long every day.
Yeah, that makes for good work as an electrician.
That's pretty funny. Well, you never know.
That is a good question. No, I know how to test for power at an AC. I can check for a few things, but we're not actually AC guys. So
that really stinks. Yeah. And you can't do your own your own better window unit, could you?
Oh, I put in those. Yeah, for sure. You're talking about the swamp cooler style.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's what's bad here. So, and I've already done the troubleshooting I can on my end. It's pretty much just time to call and get a new one put in.
Well, good. I hope you get it soon. And kudos to you for toughing through it, because seriously, I am such a baby about the heat. It's ridiculous.
How are you doing?
I'm good. My first baby came home from college on Monday night. So I have Asher and Xander here for the whole summer. It's funny. Xander is my younger one leaving for college. And most of his friends are the oldest of the children in their family. So that whole group of parents is sort of like looking at the summer as it's like impending doom of, oh God, my kid's leaving in just a couple months. But for me, because I have one already in college who just came home, I'm like, this is the best. We got everybody together. I'm so excited.
As a reminder, Lila likes her kids. She's weird like that.
I love my baby.
It's crazy.
I love to squeeze him up. So that's fun. I'm just happy to have him home and here. And, that's every mommy's dream.
Yes. And they're wonderful kids, by the way. Absolutely wonderful.
So thank you for saying that. Thank you. Well, I know you haven't met Asher yet. You met Xander and he adored you. And you have to come back down here. You keep threatening, but it hasn't happened.
I guarantee on my life I'm coming this summer.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I got some, I inherited a couple bucks when my friend passed, and that's going to get me to LA. So let's do it.
We will do a live show from a bar, maybe. We'll talk about it, but that'd be fun.
Unmasked at a bar, at a big public bar, so we can get canceled by all the COVID folks.
It's LA, so there's so much outdoors, like where the bar is outdoors,
Yeah, we'll find a perfect spot.
We'll find something, but that'd be fun. So I'm trying to put a good face on. Man, there's just so much sadness. I was watching a video. It's too long for us to share today, but it's about 5 minutes long of this war on Gaza, or the conflict or whatever. It didn't start on October 7th, and it was just 5 minutes of history and of just brutality and barbarism directed towards Palestinians. And at one point, and I had my earphones in, Josh and I my husband and I work at the dining room table next to each other, but often I'll have my earphones in. So I just sort of started sobbing, and I realized, man, I am one of the luckiest people in the world. Like, I am so privileged. I have a roof over my head and AC and children who are healthy and so many great things. And I can't sleep through the night. And I wake up like, I can't believe what I saw today. And just to think it's just unimaginable. So that was my way of bringing everybody's joy down. Sorry. Because I saw myself smiling as I'm talking to you. And I was like, I haven't smiled in a couple days.
Do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've said it before. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing, but all this really has worn me down.
I
You know,
mean,
I drive to work with my boss was never really into politics, but he's a little anti-Semitic to start. But so he had a thing against well, his girlfriend was Jewish, and that contributed to
that can
his.
do it. That can do it. No,
I'll
I'm
be honest,
joking.
but he's a conspiracy theory guy, so he bought into a lot of the Jewish people run the world kind of narratives, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, my point with that is he is tuned in and watching video clips all day on the screen while we're driving around. So I never get a break from Israel at all, which is great for being informed, but like also like you know, you need a moment to just do something else, go play pool or whatever your thing is, you know.
You actually really do. Again, because we all have to find the joy to remind ourselves what we're fighting for. Like, because otherwise you just give up. It's like that Mariam Kaba, I mean, not exactly, but where she says hope is a discipline. Like, it's not just blind faith, like, oh, it's just going to get better, you know? Yeah, exactly. But like, you have to, it's a practice of reminding yourself, like, how to fight, what you're fighting for, all of those sorts of aspects to it. So it is really important that we remind ourselves how we spark joy.
And it's okay to be happy, you know. That's okay to be happy, but we're not going to make you entirely happy. We're going to depress you a little bit.
There's still a lot to depress you. And I just saw Justin says if he's in Northern California by then. All right, I like that.
That would be fun. We should do a meetup.
We'll do a big punch up pod reunion. Anybody on the West Coast?
We'll get we'll rent the back end of a bar out and stay social distance so nobody gets a picture they can cancel us for.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, we'll cross that bridge. All right. So let's start with thanking our amazing pup heroes and sheroes for being monthly members. You guys are amazing. Thank you. We adore all of you and are so appreciative. Seriously, thank you. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. So cheers to all of you. I've got my jug of wine here.
And we should carry on the cheers, I think, to our the UK protesters.
Yeah, let's do a quick cheers.
That we have got so many people that have gone from the UK to Israel as mercenaries, basically. They've gone to commit genocide. We're seeing the atrocities that they have committed and the awful things they're doing, bombing children, maiming people, sniping even children in the face, in the head. These people are then coming back from Israel and are walking among us. They might sit next to you on the bus. They might be your next door neighbour. Just how unhinged might these people be? How much must their mental health have been affected? It worries the life out of me that our country is just allowing these people to come straight back into society, even like the chaplain at Leeds University, and people that are coming back and getting speaking engagements to talk about what they've seen and done. This must be stopped. These people have committed genocide and should be arrested when they come back, not allowed to continue their message and carry on walking freely when they have done such awful things.
I definitely like that sentiment. We should bring back shame. I remember when we used to shame Nazis, and then we did a bunch of like they honored them in the Canadian Congress and Jon Stewart. And remember he did that like Disneyland happy moment with one of the Nazis from Ukraine. And
it's going to be really interesting though, because like we know where the public is on this already.
Right.
But our government and the media are going to be fighting this narrative that we believe, which is the truth, and transitioning out of it to pointing the finger at it isn't going to happen overnight, because our government is still beholden to the interests of Israel and all the money they provide and threaten to use against you as a politician. So God, I don't know. It's a huge opportunity for progressives, again, to agree with the public and call out their party and make the party have to flip and be pro-Palestine. You could literally do that if you had some cojones or lady bits, whatever.
Yeah, I like that, lady bits. That's good. That's good. Grow a vagina, people. I just totally lost my train of thought trying to think of some things to say. Oh, the other thing that really, this could have been an amazing opportunity for the squad to take a hike from the Democratic Party and join the Green Party. Like, what's preventing people who say they don't take corporate money from banding together and, like, I don't know, something? Like, why are you staying in this group of sociopaths?
They really could independent, follow the Bernie Sanders model, and then you'd have a whole 10 to 15 people that you would have to appeal to their vote. I mean, it's a voting block right there.
Yeah,
it's your
it's
politics.
your freedom caucus. It's your yeah, exactly, power. Make them scared. They need your vote. If you're not going to take the money, but you always vote with the people who do take the money, you're worthless. And the only thing that's going to counter all the money, because we're never going to be able to give them as much money as they get from big pharma and the defense industry and AIPAC and all. But, like, if they can't get into power, that would give them a little, fear, you would hope. But
well, I mean, the thing is, these progressives did get into power based on the money that we put up. That was more than the Democratic Party put up against their opponent in many cases, like with AOC.
Yeah.
They really had not international. Well, in some cases international, but worldwide U.S. support across the country for a local candidate, a local senator,
Yep. Yeah. Which is something very rare.
An incumbent or, a Democratic centrist is never going to appeal to people that broadly. They're always going to rely on Democratic money and local money.
Right.
But a true progressive has the potential to get donations from across the U.S. But that's also where the squad has failed, because they've killed, instead of bringing more people up behind them, which is the goal, they've made for so much distrust and cynicism and disillusionment in the squad that it's hurt actual progressive candidates.
Absolutely, it has. And then, and maybe this was intentional on their part. Sorry, just because in case we get booted, we wanted to just thank you, Kimmy, so much. We are thankful for you.
I love the art.
Yes, me too, for the pup family, and thank you for your super chat. When somebody like Fetterman, which there were plenty of signs earlier from his history that he wasn't really progressive, but still, like, his story arc has been horrible. Mondaire Jones just backing the insurgent candidate against, or the challenger against Jamal Bowman, like, those things also really work to make everybody just wonder if it's not all a big joke. I mean, it is, of course it's all a big joke, but, like, I don't know. I had hope. Like 4 years ago, I actually did have some hope, I have to say.
And honestly, every year it's gone down from 4 years ago, I think, for almost everybody who's followed this stuff closely.
Yeah.
We should have at least 5 great examples of the squad folks really pushing hard on the Democratic Party, and we don't at all.
Yeah.
We should say, I'm an AOC, vote for me. But if you say I'm an AOC, vote for me, I'm like, oh, I don't have any money for you. Sorry.
Yeah. You're with your mama bear and your tax the rich dress at the Met Gala and crying for the people at the border under Trump. And I mean, it's like, it's all just such a fugazi, big show. A big show, nothing. Yeah.
Is that a Jewish term?
No, I actually I don't even remember who it was who was saying, no, I think it's a wrestling term, isn't it?
Oh, really? I don't know.
Like that it's like the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals, I think, but it's for, I thought it was, maybe I'm wrong. Anybody in the chat know anything about KK?
I have no idea. But,
all right. Anyway,
should we get going here?
Let's get going. Let's hash it out.
Hashing it out. Are we wheeling it or hashing it out? Do we wheel it?
Oh shit! Yeah, no. Oh my god, I need a like somebody to keep me in line here. My brain. No, you're right. We're supposed to do the wheel. All right, something fun.
Got something fun. Yeah, baby. Potentially.
Perfect way. Perfect. Thank goodness you remembered. Okay, while I'm pouring my shot, I will also. Why didn't I even have this open yet? Okay, wait a second. I'm going to close it and spin again.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, all right. I'm just gonna make it a little bigger.
A double?
Yeah, well,
which is really one because I'm doing half shots over here.
I'm doing as I am told. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
No, I should remove one.
It's one of these, huh?
Should I remove it?
Oh my god! Yeah,
right,
take
wait.
one of them off.
All right.
Come on. I got to work in the morning.
Okay, taking it off. That okay. Wait, sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, there's so many things to do.
I don't know how you keep doing it. That's 4 in a row.
I feel like that's something exciting. Okay, wait.
All right, we need to put a disclaimer up from now on out on the bottom saying we are not responsible.
Baby.
We're not. Yeah, do not drive after this trip. All right. Cheers. This is my third and fourth. I am closing this, and Pat, you're going to set us up with a pep.
Let's.
That was very cute.
That music was too chill. I had to take the music off because they always copyright ding us.
Yeah.
And I thought I found something that was a little, bouncy, but it was like, I don't know. It was kind of putting me to sleep a little bit. I'll be honest.
All right. I thought it was cool because the first one was, or one of them was the water skiing. It felt like chill.
It matched a little bit for one moment. All right, fair.
Yeah, it's not Fugazi, it's kayfabe. That's my brain. Oh my God. Your brain fog has disappeared. Mine hasn't. Kayfabe is what I meant. Thank you for correcting me. And Oz, thank you for the super chat. Do Zionists control all of Hollywood? I'm ready to boycott Hollywood and all Israel companies forever. Is there any hope left? Thank you for the super chat, first of all. And yes, they do control Hollywood for sure. It is kind of amazing to see how hesitant people who are supposed to be these sort of like fearless, buck the system, who make movies, but remember was it 2016? I think it was when, Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical. Oh my God, my Hamilton. Jeez Louise, you guys, don't get old. Was out. And, there are all these liberal Democrats who are like, they knew every single word to every single song. And it's all about like taking my shot and fighting the power. And whatever you think about the actual, like the subject matter or whatever, but like they were using the words like, we're fighters, we're taking our shot, we're standing up to power, and then get mad at you if you ever speak out. And that's exactly what's happening in Hollywood. It's really sad. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to hash it out, right?
Oh yeah. That's how we do it.
Look at that. All right. I just saw Kimmy wrote, and then Lin-Manuel Miranda became a spokesperson for Amex, which is true. And I mean, It's just hilarious. Okay.
No, capitalism takes. You got Larry David and Steph Curry from the Warriors sponsoring the Bitcoin flop, the scam,
and Matt Damon, who actually was outspoken about certain things even before, and that, well, no, I think it was just Matt Damon who did the crypto stuff. Ugh, gross.
Yeah, but embarrassing on their part, and no accountability for it. Like so many people got scammed out of their life fortunes for that stuff, and
they're never mad at people who steal mass amounts of money. Only shoplifters stealing baby formula. Okay. I'm trying to stay if I say shitty things, but I keep a smile on my face, does that keep the positivity levels up?
I just noticed a typo, COVID's update, but you know, then extra S in there.
We need we need copy editors. COVID update, worst of the week, peace walks. That's a joke. That's Israel. One party rule about our upcoming elections, and the economic forecast, and one good thing. Let's see if we get to all of our subjects this week.
We're gonna because we're gonna rifle through COVID because COVID's over, so we don't have to focus on that much.
Yeah, super easy. Here are the weekly numbers. Oh, hello. Sorry. Right away, I need my readers. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. COVID cases. Yeah, it does. COVID cases increased for a fourth week in a row, with cases going up in 22 out of 32 states, with consistent but limited data. Overall, COVID levels are still relatively low. But wait, that's actually not totally true. This week, 38% of hospitals in the US submitted COVID data, down from 40% last week and 91% in early May. Actual case numbers and hospitalizations are higher than reported. The goal of this summary is to understand the current trend. This is the 220th week in a row with more than 400 new COVID deaths in the US, nearly 1.2 million people during these 220 weeks. So far this year, more than 3.3 million COVID cases have been reported in the US, causing 285,747 hospitalizations and 29,788 deaths. So
yeah, and that's with only 38% of hospitals reporting. The fact that our government said, you know, hospitals don't need to report COVID cases anymore.
We're not tracking them.
Imagine Trump doing that in the out loud.
He tried it, and everybody made fun of him. I mean, or like, we're horrified. I mean, honestly, truly, every week somebody different calls me a cunt on the internet, on the Twitters. And this week it was because I said something about Biden's COVID response, and you know.
Yeah, Trump's will be worse. Remember the bleach, you know, and that's all true. But also remember that nothing has changed. Like,
yeah,
COVID is still here. We just normalized it.
Normalized it.
Oh,
we're both doing the same thing. Go ahead. You go ahead. Oh, really? Okay. It's going to be one of those.
It's like,
okay. When you hear anyone in the news say during the pandemic or post-pandemic, this is what they're talking about. And if you see the bottom part of the graph, which is ridiculously small, so yes, the readers are coming right back on. It does start in 2021 of January on the far left there. And we are climbing back up. I mean, even just in January of this year, that's the highest spike on the far right. And then now we're climbing right back up. So, you know.
Right. And I think the important part to see in this graph is that the red is the wastewater levels.
Right.
Right. So the red is where we really are. And, you know, just in case it's not clear to people, the green is what's reported. The red is where we are according to wastewater. So our baseline has gone up dramatically.
Yeah. 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 The peaks and valleys, like when they say, oh, it's not a peak right now, we're slowing down. We've never gone down to the pre-pandemic levels. It's just like when they do the, the baseline for excess deaths. They're doing it from the previous 3 years. So now we're comparing excess deaths to 2020. It's a different world from 2019. So they do have a way of massaging the data.
Right. It's like inflation is going down. Right. Well, the rate of inflation is going down, but if you keep adding 3, 4, 5% a year, just because one year it's 5 and the next year it's 4%, we never got back to where things were affordable.
Right.
Before the inflation.
And it's not keeping up with the cost, with
the CPI, or
with people's wages. There we go.
Wages. And even the CPI, which is always used to counter inflation, which is consumer price index, which is how much things cost,
right,
doesn't include rent largely and the big expenses. So when you factor in the cost, the CPI plus the cost of rent plus the mortgage, the price of borrowing money,
interest rate, that's
right. Once you do that, it's really clear that the economy is fucked for everyone middle class or lower.
Yeah, 100%. We will get there. But now we're just going to keep doing the joy of COVID. So unfortunately, we're in a COVID surge. Wastewater levels in the Bay Area are near all-time highs.
And we're talking all-time high in the alleged safe off-peak season of the summer of COVID. And it's an all-time high, and everyone is acting like you can't get COVID now. Even though, like, I was just on a job yesterday, and the guy's just talking to someone on the phone. Oh, he's got COVID? You can still get COVID?
Oh, my God.
Like, really? People are so uninformed because
they're
it's
so
not talked about.
It's not talked about. And when it is, all they talk about is deaths. So that was the response from people who wanted to engage with me was like, there's so many fewer deaths. COVID's never going away. I was like, but the post-acute part of COVID hasn't changed at all from the beginning. And in fact, we know more and realize just how bad it is, and that it's worse probably than we thought it was back then. Because I think then we thought it's like a deadly flu, but we didn't know that there was long COVID, and then we were really careful. Now we know that even the most mild, even if you don't know you have it, you could have tremendously bad post effects.
Organ damage, brain damage, heart failure,
vascular, everything. And we're just carrying on back to normal.
I'm just realizing I didn't pull anything on this, but there was a really good video that this guy put out on. They study air quality.
Yeah, it was from the UK, right?
I don't remember, honestly.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
But his group specifically studies the air quality and what happens with how long does it take for COVID particles to die in the air?
Oh, okay.
Different. And the significant thing is that, those CO2 meters that show you it's 1,000, I don't even know,
ppm or whatever.
Whatever. The significant part of that, and this is why you don't want to be indoors in stale air environments or just indoors around a lot of other people, is because what happens is normally clean air is high pH. So if there isn't CO, which is people breathing out of their lungs, the clean air erodes that acidic level of the oxygen erodes COVID.
Okay.
And what happens is when you're in a smaller environment, the air is so much full of people recycling their CO2 through their lungs, that it is no longer eroding the COVID particles. So the COVID particle thrives and can live there for, a day. It could be in the air from people yesterday that were in a busy room.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in Asia, and I don't remember which country it was, but I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, because they were doing contact tracing, which we never did here, realized that it could stay in an office for am I wrong if I say 2 weeks? It was a long time.
I feel like 7 days, but it doesn't. The important part is literally just opening windows is a game changer for a school, because you bring in fresh air, the air in front of people. Maybe it's mixed with a little bit of COVID stuff, but the COVID that's breathed out,
the viral load it decreases.
It starts eroding, and you're bringing in fresh air, and that fresh air erodes the COVID particle. Where if you never open a window and you have 30 people in a room, everyone's breathing COVID.
Yes.
And it could be COVID from yesterday because the air hasn't changed.
Exactly. So. Yeah, no, it's, but then we'd have to fix our schools And our office buildings, you can't open a window in an office building. So you'd have to have air purifiers. And I mean, so many public schools, like you can't open a window and there's no air conditioning and there's no air filter. I mean, it's like a disaster. So,
which is exactly why they're the breeding ground for COVID.
Yes. And exactly why nobody wants to acknowledge that it's airborne, even though it was just revealed that in February of 2020, the CDC knew it was airborne and checked it off. It was like a private communication, but that was something that they were talking about. They knew it was airborne February 2020. It is all just criminal. Okay. Long-term sickness, high. Economic inactivity due to long-term sickness. This is from the BBC, but so there they say 2.5 million people, but remember that's out of a much smaller group than what we have. So it's a big percentage. I think they say we're at 6 million now in the US, but I'm sure it's even more because I think a lot of people don't associate it with COVID. There's like a general just malaise of always coughing, always feeling kind of low energy, but people aren't necessarily making that correlation.
No, they're not being told to, they're not even aware of it being long COVID. So
it's like it's going around again. It's my summer flu.
But when they say like unemployment numbers are low, it's like so many people have left the workforce entirely and they can't come back because of long COVID.
Yeah.
And that's just long COVID. I mean, there's so many other effects of COVID, it's not, none of this is being tracked appropriately. But we know enough from what is being tracked that this is a fucking disaster for the economy, for the next generation.
And the next pandemic, which we'll get to. Yeah, we'll get to in just a second. Just as a reminder, just because, people say the dumbest things. So, we're always just trying to but like have the receipts as responses for this. But yes, by the time you get your third infection, which some people are getting per year, 3, you have a 40% chance of developing some post-acute syndrome. So some form of long COVID. There was just a big study that said even 3 years after infection, we still have people who are developing all sorts of new problems. And the reason that they stopped at 3 years is because it's only been 3 years since they started that study, but there's no reason to think that it won't go beyond 3 years. So when they were doing just the 2-year mark last year, they found patients had elevated risk for long COVID-related conditions that included diabetes, lung problems, fatigue, blood clots, gastrointestinal, and musculoskeletal disorders. Now at 3 years, Dr. Al-Ali, who's on the forefront of the study of long COVID, tells Fortune magazine that the primary complications among those with mild initial COVID cases were found in the neurological, GI, and pulmonary systems as well. And those were people who had mild cases. So, yeah.
Yeah, and even the term mild is so...
I mean, you didn't have
it's so designed to make it that COVID is not a big deal.
Yeah.
Mild cases kill people. I mean, mild cases are you can't get out of bed for a month is a mild case, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I had a mild case and I was sort of like that. And I mostly feel like I'm normal now, but this was in September and definitely through October, I was still a wreck. And then I got some weird cold in January, which wasn't COVID, wasn't the flu, wasn't RSV, but it was really bad. And if I do, I don't feel 100% really. And I had a mild case. She wouldn't give me Paxlovid, my doctor.
Right. Which is the solution for everybody. So along those lines, there was a flight quarantine recently.
They did not specify that it was COVID and yet. It's so gross. They had to ground it and quarantine to do a deep clean.
Yeah.
Which,
on the good news level, at least, there's another major study looking at the mask research, and N95s nearly perfect.
Shocked, I tell you, shocked.
Nearly perfect. So
you mean physics works? Science is real?
Science is in fact real. The technology, they always knew N95s how they operate with droplets and water molecules, and
Right.
they block COVID from getting through the mask. This is what happens. So two-way masking would be nearly 100%, but I mean,
Right.
at least there's some comfort. If you can wear an N95 safely and you have a good seal, you are in good shape.
Yeah. And what was interesting in this, I mean, always go for the best available mask, but they said that even lower performing masks, I mean, even lower quality masks, baggy blues, even cloth, better than nothing.
It's common sense. It's like
yeah, exactly.
Sneezing in your elbow is better than sneezing in my face, you know. But on that note, if you really are concerned about the best masks, I just realized my cat pulled down my green screen.
I know, I just saw that. I didn't know if it had been there the whole time.
It's a cat. I heard a noise.
Okay.
But the duckbill N95s were rated the best, although they are by far the weirdest looking ones, but they do the best with COVID.
Yes, 100%. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read some of this. Yes, they do. That was a study that came out, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, showing the developmental delays of children who have been infected in utero. So there was a huge difference between those kids and kids whose mothers had gotten COVID when they were pregnant with them. And then I saw the recent study of mice getting long COVID is terrifying. Oh, right. For blood transfusions. Yes, they are saying that people with long COVID should not be donating blood. It's interesting. Because who knows? People don't even know, like, how are they going to test? Yeah, exactly.
People don't. I'm sure they can add that to the list of, like, when you're donating, have you had COVID? Do you have long COVID? But nobody knows they have long COVID. Nobody knows, they're not informed enough to know that they should check the box that, my health issues are due to long COVID.
Well, how would they even test? Like, what's the test for that? I mean, seriously, what is the test for that? Like, what do we have? We have nothing. Like, we have nothing. We just done. We just gave up. Who would ever test for that? They're like, it's just despicable. And coming off of the horrible way we've approached COVID, we are now seeing if this were happening under Trump, I have to think that there would be more attention to bird flu rising. It seems to be causing quite a panic in the true scientific community, not the Leanna Wens and the Ashja, whatever his name is, I went to college with. I always forget. But now we have H5N1 bird flu found in another dairy farm in the US. So in the past 2 months, there have been 69 outbreaks, 3 human cases, at least 24 cats have died. Now it's in alpacas, spillover back to poultry. We are also seeing it in, this was so weird, 11 house mice in New Mexico have tested positive for H5N1 bird flu. First time mice have been infected outside of lab experiments. But what's a house mice? Like, I'm trying to even understand. What is that? Like, just, it's not like you like having them around. You have them, it dies, and then you get it tested, or what?
Right. I think they could have just said mice, but they were trying to delineate not lab mice. It would be my guess. Okay. I mean, I'm just guessing.
I don't know.
But there are different looking mice. There are some mice that are super cute. Like, I've been out camping and you see one next to the fire with the big ears.
I can't do it. I mean, I can do it in cartoons. I know, that's so good. I need to get over it. I need to fear factor myself out of it.
Well, Pablo used to bring me a mouse every couple of months.
Oh, I can't.
He stopped, but he'd bring me birds. He brought me a rat that was this big, like a foot plus long rat. And it was
into your place?
No, but I'm on the second story. There was a blood trail from the stairs all the way up to my apartment, and I'm not supposed to have cats here, and a dead rat. And the neighbors came when I was trying to clean up the dead rat. Like, it looked like I was hiding a murder scene because I was like, nobody can see this.
Oh my God, Pat!
In the middle of the night.
No.
Yeah. Sorry for the distraction there, but
no, it's embarrassing to me that I'm so terrified of rodents. I can do anything else. I can pick up cockroaches and amphibians and snakes, whatever. I'm fine. But I don't know, the thing with the Mice. I don't know why.
I'm in attics all the time too. And by the way, everyone's attic has a bunch of dead mice in it. I'm just going to put it out there for you.
Mice or rats?
Either or. Mice, rats, but they've been up there decomposing for a while, and you should just accept that. You're welcome.
I don't like it.
Moving on.
I don't like it. All right, moving on. More bad news. Very concerning from Rick Bright, who's a scientist who studies this, that there was the first ever human case and death from, so this is slightly different, H5N2 bird flu. And in Mexico, 59-year-old died in Mexico City. He had zero exposure contact with any poultry or other animals. So, so Rick Bright is pointing out why this is so concerning. It took over 6 weeks to identify and report this case. The person was bedridden, indicating someone brought the virus to him. He had no contact with poultry, could he have gotten it from milk, and the outcome was fatal. And what this scientist keeps pleading with the CDC to do is to start developing tests and contact tracing and start taking this seriously, because if we just keep allowing, if we're like, oh, it's just in cows now, don't worry, and we're not going to the big, factory farms or any farms because the state is protecting their own, big farm businesses, right? And they're preventing the CDC from coming and interviewing workers and testing. We're again in total ignorance of how it's spreading, who it's spreading to, and we're just going to ignore it until it's fatal.
And I mean, not to fearmonger, but you have to just look at all this stuff and think they're going to hide all the information on this because it reminds us of COVID, and people look at what we should be doing on COVID, which is going to wake people up to, it's the same situation. We should be masking. We should be social distancing. We should be cleaning the air. It's the same reason they don't want to spend money on COVID. They're not going to want to spend money on this, but it also points them back to the COVID piece of it. So especially in an election year, Democrats can do everything they can to hide this. Maybe when Trump wins, we can get some coverage of it.
Hold out for 6 more months. Yeah. Exactly. They're not going to do anything because this can't happen under the Democratic Believe Science administration. Well, we'll get to this. We can get to this after. I'm so upset. I saw Brianna Joy Gray had Eddie Glaude Jr. on. Is he junior or senior? I can't remember. Anyway, love him. He's great professor, left-wing guy who regrets, he says, not, he was a Bernie guy in 2020, regrets not voting. No, he didn't vote for Hillary in 2016. He sat it out. Trump came. And then he says he regrets that because 1 million people died under Trump. And I think he had somebody close to him pass away, or maybe more than one person. So, I feel terrible for all the deaths. And I understand how that could cloud somebody's thinking, but 800,000 deaths happened under Biden with a vaccine. So I don't know how everybody's lumping those 800,000 as if all those people were MAGA people. Is that the thought? No. I don't know.
And you got to look at it also Trump barely was president during COVID. Yeah. In the big picture. If he was president in the second term, and we knew what we know now, when the information came out about how deadly this stuff is and all the damage, that's when the real holy shit, you're not responding to this appropriately stuff. Right. I mean, Trump wasn't either, but he did begrudgingly support the virus and get up the virus. I mean, the vaccines, and get the vaccine ramped up.
We did have, lockdowns under him.
What did Biden do for COVID after that? He just covered it up. He worked literally for big pharma and capitalists to hide COVID from the public, to make them not fear COVID. He had his
strip away every protection that was actually put in under Trump, not because Trump necessarily wanted it, but those things came under Trump, right? And then
so I blame him 10,000 times more than Trump for all of COVID. No. Even if it was Trump, like I said, we're 5 years, almost 5 years into COVID, right? You know, fourth year.
Yeah.
How has he pushed the needle in public response any further than what Trump had in place?
He's killed public health. Yeah, killed it. He's killed public health. They're not talking about, first he had, what's his name? Zients as his COVID response person, who's just, what's he, a hedge fund manager or some awful Wall Street guy. And it was all directed by the economy and the McKinsey institutes of the world. It had nothing to do with science. Disgusting. And, right now, Spain is in a new epidemic wave. This is June 2nd. This was released. It's so bad right now in Europe that in the UK, the intensive care units for children and babies are more than 90% full. I don't know what it's going to take, but nothing ever seems to matter. I don't know what it's going to take, actually. It's really going to have to affect the most powerful people in the world until they all, and here's what's going to happen. They're not going to lose their babies or their loved ones to death. They're going to, have these long-term health issues. They're going to ascribe it to other things as that's happening. This is such a crazy part of COVID, but it kind of changes the makeup of your brain a little bit, and your basically your fear or your caution is diminished. So they won't even realize that that's what's happening.
I really think the public is just too far gone on this issue. I think you need the scientists that understand this to all come together and get attention somehow in a massive way. And that's the only shot we have. And then, maybe they can get the unions on board. Maybe we can get some cross, worker protections. Maybe they can convince some of these unions that the number one thing you can do for your workers is get clean air, ventilation. Yeah. That's the top thing.
I will say that the fact that at all of these pro-Palestine ceasefire protests, I don't know a majority, but there are lots of people who are masked. They are very aware of, we lift everybody up, we protect everybody. I hate the framing that we need to also protect our disabled community, or because I feel like we need to protect everybody. Yes,
but also
we're all vulnerable to this.
Yeah. When you present it as this is a solidarity thing with disabled people, that's a lie, because it is solidarity. I'm sorry, it is. And we want to show solidarity, even if that's the only reason. That's a valid reason. Right. But it also minimizes the effect it's having on everybody. Everybody should be masking in these situations.
Exactly. Yeah. It's an interesting balance. But anyway, I'm happy to see that they're doing that and they're aware of it, and they know that it is a labor issue and a solidarity issue. So, That's good. All right. I know. Are we spinning our wheel?
Spin the wheel. Let's get off of COVID.
Let's get off this. I know. Wear a mask.
By next week, we could be done with COVID entirely and never have to talk about it again.
We're never going to talk about it again.
No, we're dead.
Yeah, baby.
Pour my shot. All you know how to do is get shot.
Oh my God. I even took one off. All right. This is kind of crazy. I'm already seeing double.
I think that's 6 out of 7 of your spins are shots.
Wow. Look at that. All right. Wait 1 second.
I think probably 5 out of 6.
Yeah, baby.
But there it is.
Oh my God. Puppet. Oh Lord. All right.
Now it's 6 out of 7. I got to pour another one.
I think I got to. Well, all right. I'm going to close it and do it again.
Yeah, baby.
Ooh, do we have 2 puppets?
Of course not.
Seriously?
No, we don't.
All right. I'm removing that because I didn't do it before. Too many shots for me. Look, and I didn't remove that. Do you want to just
all good? Let's just show a timeline cleanse here.
That sounds good. I'm removing.
Let's watch some bad golfers.
Perfect.
Trust me, you're not that guy.
No! What? Did you see that?
Oh my God.
Get it, cat. Get it. No. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Oh. Oh my God, that's so cute. And yes, so needed. I am going to add another time for a timeline cleanse. This is such a, like, you guys will all hate me, but it was Xander when he was like 2 doing, like, Josh took him to a real golf, range to try to hit. And he was such a little asshole and so obstinate. He would never follow directions. But yeah, that's very funny.
So I used to golf and I was terrible at golf, which frustrated me because I'm like very naturally good at sports.
Right. Yeah.
I can, but golf is so unnatural. It's such an unhuman way to hit a thing. And
yeah.
So the first time I went golfing, I launched my golf club farther than I was hitting the balls. Accidentally just slipped out of my hands. And then I went to the range again, hit a truck driving by the driving range.
Oh my God.
Literally hit a truck. The guy flipped us off and just kept driving. I've sent balls flying back to us. I've wrecked golf carts. I'm just I should not golf.
My dad used to say, no, I don't golf. I'm a Democrat. I mean, back when that sort of felt like it meant something, but yeah. All right. Moving on. Where are we in our show guide? Oh, yay.
We're all the way up to the second issue.
I know we're going to, well, this is going to bleed into every other thing, but
let's break it out.
Truly one of the worst people in the world, been a senator for I don't know how long. I don't know that we've ever even profiled.
All right, you keep
Pat's such an asshole. Who's the worst of the week, Pat? I'm going to make it you one week.
It should be me.
Anyway, I think this is our first official Republican who's been the worst of the week, but we thought we would give it to the one and only Mr. Senator Lindsey Graham. This is how he views the Middle East. Is that what we're going to start with?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Here we go.
He's had a horrible. Oh, sorry. He's had a week of showing us who he is. So let's start with that one.
All right, here we go.
So when we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
He's such a moron, first of all, because we know that it was not necessary. Like, it really does. What's the thing? Like, not the pretend imposter syndrome. Like, no one should ever think that you don't know enough or shouldn't be at one of the highest levels of American power because you don't know enough. Because we know now that the Japanese had already, through back channels, everybody knew in the US government, they were surrendering, and we still dropped 2 bombs. It's not okay. It wasn't okay then. Nobody certainly should think it's okay now. And he's using our horrifying, like, generational shifting war crimes against Japan as an excuse for what now he thinks Israel should do to Palestinians.
And why do you have to rewrite history? Like, like you said, like, why go there? Like, everything America's done is always right. Like, just because we did that doesn't mean we should support other countries. Like, the point was you're supposed to learn from how awful that was.
Yeah. Not
say, well, you're anti-Semitic if you don't support them doing the awful thing we did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And also, like, what a great friend to the Jews Lindsey Graham is, right? That's very cute. But it's not
Anyway,
a dead mouse, so it's okay.
It's not.
All
right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, like they always are going to try to couch it under like their, you know, great Jewish friends and all that. But meanwhile, he's totally fine sending arms to, you know, Nazis in Ukraine. So, and supporting Donald Trump, right? Like who he said was a scourge or whatever he said at the beginning of 2016, and then got right in bed with him once he was in power. And although now,
all those videos are coming out now. Like, you know, the Democrats are releasing the videos of all these guys. Like Rubio's video came out again. How about Rubio saying, you know, you can't vote for Trump? But the point is, like, these guys, they're basically in line with Biden's policies. Like, you know, on Israel, a little more to the right, but like, we don't have an opposition to that because like Biden is he's just as much of a warmonger as anyone on the right is, really. It's just what can he get away with?
Oh my God, 100%. I mean, that's the thing is like now, I mean, there's 2 more videos we have of Graham, but like basically there is no, I mean, sorry, but I see no difference between Biden and all the Republicans. Like they're the same. And like the border bill is another one. And that's the one time like now we're going to see Graham really upset that the border bill didn't pass because of Trump telling them not to. But like every chance he gets to just do whatever, well, every chance Biden gets to do what the worst Republicans want, that's the way Biden's going to go. And he's kind of playing to this person who, because at one point he was against Trump. Why? Like, why was he even against Trump? I don't even understand what his problem with Trump was. Just because he put it all out there because of his tweets. Like, there's no difference. You're talking about bombing Palestinians. What separates you from the guy with the mean tweets? I don't know. It's just absurd. This was him. I think this was today on the border bill or on the asylum.
And I regret that. So everybody who comes on this floor and says our border's broken, we should do something about it, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, we didn't get there. President Trump opposed a Senate bill. We couldn't find a better way forward that would get 60 votes. I hate that, but now we have to deal with what's left for us to take care of in the world.
Sorry, that's wrong. That was from the border bill. That's not the asylum case that's happening right now, which is also illegal, which he supports. I think the you know, one of the reasons, because we were talking about it, we never have picked a Republican before because like it's just so clear that I hate Republicans and you do. Like that's always been the thing. Is like that's not our people. And then as Democrats are more and more clearly just Republicans with like us, you know, that the whole meme with a pride flag and a BLM or whatever black, you know, square. You just realize how they're all working together. But I think somebody like Graham, who just like a Liz Cheney or a Rubio, who distanced themselves a little bit from Trump at the beginning, they get the reputation amongst these right-wing Democrats, which is almost the whole party now, of being the rational Republicans. Like I think he was against the insurrection, right? Like because it doesn't matter, because for all these Republicans, having Biden in power is pretty much, I mean, it's the same as having any Republican in power. It doesn't affect them.
If you're Lindsey Graham, you have no morals whatsoever. Like he was so anti-Trump at one point and then he wasn't and all that. And I think that his allegiance to Israel right now is so off the charts. So you got Fetterman on the left, you got Lindsey Graham on the right, pretty much. And all they care about, like, even if he's going to upset his MAGA crowd now, all he cares about is showing allegiance to Israel. And it's just so patently obvious with him. Sorry. I got a cat.
What?
I'm having cat issues today.
She loves you. Yeah, all of these, I mean, I agree with everything all of you are saying. He is a Republican. I cannot tell the difference between Biden and George W. at all. And in fact, I mean, well, Biden so far hasn't killed as many people as George W., but he was supporting that war. So he needs to take culpability for that as well. Okay, so the last one, and this is really like, the standing in the world of the US has just plummeted. You know, Obama did plenty of horrifying things, you know, including expanding our wars to 5 more countries, not getting us out of Afghanistan, not closing Guantanamo, the drone program that like 90% of the casualties were civilians, and all like horrible. I mean, I don't even know what the but is, but for some reason, because he wasn't George W. Bush, I think there was like there was something cast over, there was like a shine cast over the US again on the foreign stage. He did a few good things. He got us into the Iran nuclear deal. He got us into, the climate deal, which whatever, didn't really do anything, but like there were some attempts at something. Then,
and I think people around the world bought into some of the same propaganda. So it took a while to unpack that Obama really wasn't a leftist,
right.
Just, and the difference now is like, now we're in a place where, like back then, the government could tell you Obama's a good guy. We love the US. We have support for them and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the public would be maybe trailing behind and not believing it. But now you've got a genocide. That's just like the public and all these other countries, which are already economically they're being drawn away from the US. Yeah. So now it's like the rule of law is bogus to them. The public sees that that's bullshit. They see economically, why are we tied to the US? So it's all like sort of peaking at this moment with Biden and the genocide. And
I think the thing is like after Trump, after George W., who was such a disgusting buffoon who got us into, 2 wars based on lies, mishandled so many events here in the US, Barack Obama felt like a sane, brilliant mind who spoke so well, said things that at least were calming, and then to go to Trump, who was kind of basically back to being George W., who, ripped to shreds the Iran deal and the climate deal. And the only thing he actually accomplished was tax cuts for the wealthy. And then Biden comes in, doesn't get us back into the Iran deal, doesn't end those tax cuts, continues the building of the wall, like does all of these things that are just as disgusting for the whole world to see, makes it more dangerous, has us involved in 2 wars, trying to start War 3. Like and we can't talk about a rules-based order on any level at all. Like it's over.
No, and in 2020, Biden ran on being sort of Bernie-ish, right? He's as left as Bernie. It's like this whole left kind of thing. In 2024, he's running on being Trump. He's like, we're tough on crime. We're blocking the border. We tried to give you everything you want on the border. We're not locking you up and doing anything about COVID. We're giving all these wars all the money they could possibly fucking ask for. LGBTQ plus issues. How is he a hero of the left on that? Like he's not, like that's the most obvious thing that doesn't impact the economy or corporations. And he's just can't go left on it enough because of the right. He wants to appeal to these voters on the right. He's not left. He's trying to get votes on the right.
Yeah. Do you remember that shirt that he had? That like the DNC put out? It was like, crossing out all the things Republicans and socialism was one of the things he crossed out. It was like, not as I beat the socialists. Like I mean, I understand what you're saying, that he tried a little bit to do certain things, but like he loved saying, I beat the socialist.
Yeah, but he still ran on reforming the healthcare system.
Right. Yeah, he said he was going to do a public option.
Change,
Yeah. You're right.
Police brutality. We have to fix the brutal police force and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And now he's like, we're just going to all the Republican stuff. We're doing the Republican stuff. That's his platform, except for Roe versus Wade, which we lost in our term because we didn't do shit about the abortion issue.
Well, we didn't have enough Democrats who could help.
More Democrats.
2 more. Yeah. And the thing about like the states that are banning like trans drugs, or banning, like taking action against the the reason I was trying not to say it is because if I don't write it down, I'm get LGBTQT plus community. Sorry, 6 shots in my bloodstream right now.
I think you got it wrong too. I think you said QT and I think it's TQ. Somebody fact check.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I know. Sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just loaded.
Nobody
old and loaded. But like, he could withhold federal money until they respect the civil rights of their citizens in Florida. Like, there are ways for the leader of the free world, the leader of this nation, to exert some power when people are being denied their civil rights. And he's done nothing.
Nothing. And I just realized we are so derailed from Israel right now.
No, we were doing Graham still, and I did that because I feel like Graham and Biden are in sync. And, I feel like Biden is appealing to the Graham Republicans. Like, that's the whole thing. So, the other thing, the other horrific thing that Graham said, I mean, basically every week, my worst of the week would be Biden or Netanyahu. Like that, I would just keep going back and forth. Like those are the 2 people.
I would just give it to Bill Maher. So that's where we're different.
But so we're trying to just, do a little bit. Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, this is Graham on censuring the International Criminal Court because of their arrest warrant for Netanyahu and.
Right. I think that's the point, is he's out there saying what Biden wants to say in a way, like, and because he's a Republican, it gives cover, like, but he wants to be as hardcore as this guy.
Yes.
So we, hopefully, together will find a way to register our displeasure with the ICC, because if they'll do this to Israel, we're next. This group tried to come after our soldiers. Yeah, you can clap all you want to. They tried to come after our soldiers in Afghanistan, but reason prevailed. So at the end of the day here, what I hope to happen is that we level sanctions against the ICC for this outrage to not only help our friends in Israel, but protect ourselves over time. Mr. Secretary, your statement yesterday was excellent. The president's statement was excellent. Senator Schumer's statement on the floor was excellent about the outrage here. They have destroyed the notion of complementarity. They have misled people in the United States Senate about their intention, and they shall and will pay a price. Ms. Secretary, I appreciate what you've said. It is now time for us to act. Thank you.
Oh, he's just awful. He's just awful. And it's what Biden thinks entirely. And if you have Senator Graham telling you how great what you said was, re-examine what you said.
Seriously.
Jessica, thank you. LGBTIQA+.
And you said QT, which makes it sound like cutie, and I'm like,
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. How many cocktails did he have at lunch? Whew, yeah. And yes, we are next. The U.S. should be next, which is why we have the Hague Invasion Act, because we all know. And that was something that Biden loved also, that was done under George W., the Hague Invasion Act, because nobody in the U.S. should ever be called up before the Hague for war crimes, because we don't do war crimes, apparently. Okay. That moves us into, I can't remember if that moves us into 2024 or Israel.
Israel.
All right. So the big part of Israel this week, apart from just, horrifying slaughterings on refugee tent camps and more dead babies and amputations and, dead men and women, and just all of it, was the ceasefire announcement by Biden, which I don't know if anybody watched. We didn't even pull a clip from it because it's so hard to watch him speak. He is having such a hard time getting words out. He kind of it's like he's sprinting to the end of a sentence just to feel like I finished what's on the teleprompter. You can just tell he's slurring everything to the end. But in this big ceasefire speech, he announced that Israel has offered a 3-part proposal to end the war in Gaza. The plan would start with 6 weeks of a complete ceasefire and the release of women and children being held hostage. That was, 4 days ago? I think so, 5 days ago?
Yeah, and the important part here is that he said that Israel offered this plan. So you would think if Israel offers the plan and Hamas says, okay, we got a plan.
Which, by the way, Hamas responds positively. Yeah, so that was June 1st. I think it was laid out on May 31st, and right away Hamas responded positively, which from the very beginning they have offered to return hostages for peace, which we'll get to in a second. But right away, his good friend Bibi says the U.S. president claims that Hamas is the one obstructing. Oh, sorry, no, sorry. U.S. president claims that Hamas is the one obstructing a ceasefire, demanding that people around the world should now demand that Hamas comes to the table. That's how he framed it. It's all on Hamas. But the truth is, right away, Bibi said it was a non-starter. Look at me not being able to find anything. Right away, they pound Gaza after this proposed ceasefire deal, and then says it's a non-starter. Not going to happen.
This
and
deal that
Biden
says they proposed is a non-starter.
Yeah. Right.
Just openly lying to the public.
Yeah. And Biden was. And
yes.
Well, okay, but yes. And also had to have a talk with the hostage families, although I don't think he's ever met the hostage families in person. That's been an issue, but had the statement given out because they see what's happening. Why do you think, I have a feeling that Biden thought that he was giving them a path to come to the table by pressuring them a little bit and saying it was theirs. But it makes him look weak that it wasn't ours, first of all, and then weaker still when they say, nope, that's not ours. I don't even understand the thought process, not Biden's thought process, because he doesn't have a thought, but what was the U.S. thought process? What was happening? Yeah. I don't get it. Either way,
it doesn't make sense, but I think it's just knowing how much they control the narrative. If they just push that Biden this whole time keeps trying, I think that's it. They're just going to keep saying he's the good guy trying. As
he keeps sending weapons?
Yeah.
But do you think that's still working? I mean, maybe it's still working.
It's obviously not working enough because public support keeps pushing further and further against this war. But if he owns up to what's actually happening, immediately it's going to shift the polls hard left because then you're like, oh, you're lying. It's all bullshit.
Right.
So they're just keeping the bullshit going as long as they can. But ultimately, it's sinking him.
Yeah, he just looks like a weak moron and a liar. He's either a liar or weak or both. But there's no good outcome in that.
No, but what happens is 3 days ago, he comes on TV, he gives this speech, and it sounds to people who aren't going to follow up on this much more after that.
Right.
That he's doing his best. He's trying to make this thing happen. He got this deal going. Israel started it, so he gets to blame Hamas for another 2 months before he has to come up with some new narrative.
Yeah, and they've all been saying it's on every single headline on all of legacy media was and now it's up to Hamas. It's up to Hamas. Hamas has to come to the table in spite of the reality of Israel continuing the bombs, Netanyahu saying it was a non-starter, Ben-Gvir saying if Netanyahu does it, he's going to lose his coalition. They're leaving his coalition. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So should we show the Hamas offers?
Yeah.
I feel like
so
that's.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Every time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I'm going to stop. I've had so many shots. I need some water. Go ahead.
Same, but here we go. Here's a 2-minute video, so we don't have to talk.
Here's every ceasefire deal and prisoner exchange that Hamas has offered Israel since October 7th. October 9th, Hamas offers Israel an unspecified number of women and children being held hostage in Gaza in exchange for 36 Palestinian women and children being held hostage in Israeli prisons. October 16th, a Hamas official says they'd free all Israeli captives in Gaza in exchange for 6,000 Palestinian captives in Israel. October 17th, a Hamas official tells NBC News that they'd release all of their Israeli civilian captives if Israel agreed to stop bombing Gaza. October 28th, Hamas's leader in Gaza offers to release all of the Israeli captives in Gaza in exchange for all of the Palestinian captives in Israeli prisons. This proposal, more commonly known as All for All, was a demand widely adopted by Israelis protesting against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. November 17th, Qatari negotiators proposed a deal where Hamas will release 50 Israeli captives in exchange for a 3-day ceasefire. Hamas agrees to the general outline of the deal. Israel refuses. January 2nd, Hamas proposed a 3-phase deal where Hamas releases 40 Israeli captives in exchange for a gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza and the release of Palestinian captives. In the last phase, Israel would end the war and Hamas would release all of its Israeli captives. Israel rejected this offer. January 18th, members of the Israeli government make a proposal to Benjamin Netanyahu to reopen negotiations with Hamas. He refuses. January 22nd, Israel rejects a deal where Hamas would release Israeli captives in exchange for the release of Palestinian captives, a withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, and accepting Hamas's leadership in Gaza. February 7th, Hamas proposes a 3-phased, 4.5-month ceasefire, where in the first phase, Hamas would release all women, children, ill, and young male Israeli captives in exchange for the release of Palestinian women and children being held captive in Israeli jails. In the second phase, adult male captives on both sides would be exchanged, and then in the third phase, remains of the dead and an end to the war. March 15th, Hamas offers to release Israeli women, children, elderly, and sick captives being held in Gaza in exchange for 700 to 1,000 Palestinian captives in Israeli prisons. And most recently, yesterday, Hamas offered to participate in a proposed 3-stage deal where in the first phase.
So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing of trying to blame Hamas, I guess it works for people who don't follow the news, but like.
And I think they're stuck in the old paradigm of being able to convince the public enough with CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, and they can't. And that's the problem they're in right now.
Yeah.
Is like, how do they continue to justify a war that the public is against and the public knows they're right to be against?
Well, and what's been interesting, totally agree, is that we've seen more and more, like I think it was an NBC reporter last week that we showed saying, or how many more charred bodies does Biden need to see? Like, why isn't there a red line? What's happening? And we haven't really seen journalists in this country be all that contentious with Democratic leaders. Like, they love doing it with Trump, but like it's starting to be untenable what's happening right now, even in the US.
Yeah, what you would get is you'd get my cat stepping on my mouse, falling off. No, you would get like Steve Ducey at the press conference, going after him for bathroom issues and things that are not like really that
felt like he was just trying to spar with Saki Bomb.
Yeah, it was just
that was a kayfabe, not a fugazi. It was a kayfabe,
but stuff to placate Fox News viewers, But like when Fox News folks are supporting this war too, and they're pro-Israel, it's like none of the media has any vested interest in for their network's cause to promote a narrative that's against Biden right now on Israel. Like Fox doesn't want to go on them hard on Israel. So so kudos to the actual reporters that are, but they're not getting TV coverage usually. They're getting,
if you
internet TV coverage.
If you watch the C-SPAN,
yeah,
which we're big fans.
We do.
And also, I'm realizing now that I think the 2 clips that we did pull of journalists talking to Matt Miller are both not American born, possibly, at least the first one.
Irish guy.
Yeah, Irish guy who is so much better than Robbie Swabby. I wish they would always have him on The Hill Rising with Brianna Joy Gray. But anyway, this is him talking about what this ceasefire deal actually would entail.
Mentioned the president's remarks, which included the idea that as long as Hamas lives up to its commitment, there could be, and I quote, the cessation of hostilities permanently. And you say that is an Israeli proposal. So the government of the state of Israel is signed up to a proposal that there could be a permanent end to hostilities and Hamas still in existence in a meaningful way.
No, they are signed up to an agreement that leads to a permanent cessation of hostilities, but with a number of provisions that have to be negotiated to get there at the end of the phase.
But if the provisions...
But I say, I'm not going to negotiate all those provisions in public. I talked about this a good deal yesterday, about the fact that one of the principles the secretary outlined in Tokyo in November is that there cannot be continued rule of Hamas in Gaza after October 7th. I'm sorry, after the end of this conflict, and that's what we're committed to.
No, but I understand that. But if the provisions required would be the dissolution of Hamas, why would Hamas sign up to get that ball rolling?
Because they don't want to see continued conflict, continued Palestinian people dying. They don't want to see war in Gaza. They want to see reconstruction of Gaza. Now, look, I will grant you one thing. I said this to Matt yesterday. It may be that Sinwar decides that he is safe in a tunnel and his interests have diverged from the people of Gaza. And so he's not willing to agree to a ceasefire, and he's not willing to look at this proposal and say it requires good faith negotiations to get from phase 1 to phase 2. So I'm not going to accept it because I'm safe and I don't have any interest in the Palestinian people who continue to suffer the ravages of war. But I will say, if you look at the deal that's on the table, it is manifestly in the interest of the Palestinian people, is manifestly in the interest of the Israeli people, is manifestly in the interest of the world. And so that's why we'll continue to push for it. And if Hamas really does represent the interests of the Palestinian people, as they say over and over, it's without a doubt that they'll take this deal.
So
I know. I really want to examine how somebody gets designated as a terrorist. Like, there have been so many analogies written by different people about what this is, where we blame, or the U.S. blames Hamas for everything and not the occupation, where there's like nothing's in context. Everything started on October 7th, like all of that. I just don't know how they can keep saying it out loud, watching what's happening. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, the logic is just a mess, and he's right to call him out on it in this
Right.
situation, because if Hamas is who he keeps telling us they are,
Right.
why are you keeping the lives of Palestinians you're holding their lives hostage based on a terrorist group that just runs the thing? So shouldn't you look beyond them? Like,
Right.
why do you need them to approve this peace deal?
Yeah.
You could
Yes.
stop funding the bombs. You could
Well,
stop
yeah.
giving them money, and
That's
that's
something,
the
yeah.
first step. If these people are truly held hostage by Hamas, this whole country, like you keep claiming, what power do Palestinians have to get a peace deal? Is the point of it? Like, they
Right.
have none. They have
Because
none.
they tried it. I mean, there was, we pulled, there was a clip of Sinwar from like 2021 saying, like, you want us just to raise a white flag and accept surrender. Like, that's not a peace deal. You're just telling us to surrender, and you get to steal all of our land, and we have to just accept everything you present us no matter what. That's not peace. That's you just want to continue your violence without any without us speaking up. You want us to lie down and die. And the other thing is, they were elected democratically. Now, obviously, half of Gaza's citizenry is, under 18.
Too young.
So they were too young. But remember Hillary saying, well, if we had known that that's what democracy was going to get them, we should have figured out who they were going to vote for before we encouraged Gaza to vote in a democratic election for their leaders in 2006. But the fact is, they were democratically elected. Like, that is who they are. That is who they have representing them. Sometimes they're not popular. Sometimes they are, just like the people we elect. Certainly, Hamas has not inflicted on Israel or the world the damage that Israel has inflicted on Palestinians, or that the US has inflicted on the world, or that NATO countries have. Like, so that idea that, like, no, we're not going to negotiate with Hamas. We'll do arms deals with Saudi Arabia. We'll take Nazis and bring them over to the US to help NASA. Like, those people we can deal with. We're never going to deal with Hamas, and we're never going to deal with Putin because they're worse than Nazis. I mean, like, how do you get to a peace deal? Ever?
I think that is ultimately the point. I mean, they're trying to set up, they're prolonging the case so Israel can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which is so crazy because from everything I read, Netanyahu would way prefer to have Trump over Biden. So for Biden to be doing this, that's not even like, you know, now that Netanyahu's been invited to speak to our Congress,
which is crazy.
Disgusting.
Hello, Hitler. Let's hear what you have to say.
I mean, the ICC wants him for war crimes, and our Congress just invited him here. And there was actually just a piece in Haaretz by, you know, liberal Zionists, whatever that means exactly, saying, you're stabbing us in the back. We don't want him to get this honor. I mean, that, you know, whatever you think about our Congress and our politics, it is a tremendous honor in the worldwide stage to be invited to speak to our Congress. And the fact that that's being extended to a war criminal who clearly doesn't care about the hostages or the hostage families, who is not listening to them, who is making Jews the face of a genocide. I mean, like, I'm trying to understand what the calculations are in Biden's State Department, because there is no through line. They don't have a plan for the day after. Biden says he wants a two-state solution. Netanyahu says no way that's going to happen. Like,
sorry, I'm literally attacked here. Ow!
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
No, but what is the like? He's going to come to our Congress and scold our Congress. He's going to scold Biden.
Yep.
He's going to lean into the most radical right-wing stuff. He's going to say that Americans have been propagandized, that these college kids are all wrong.
Yeah.
He's going to say all of that. And how does that help Biden? How does it help? I mean,
I guess it's just money. Like, I think that's the calculation. He's lost his base, so he's just going after the AIPAC money.
You mean Biden? Like,
yeah,
or, you know, the Democrats? I think it's more than that. I think it's that they are literally so owned at this point that they can't say no.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's at that level. Like, Netanyahu wants to come speak, and they're just, the politicians that wouldn't support him coming there are going to get so much abuse from the AIPAC money.
Yeah.
That they just can't say no. He made them an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And thank you, Audrey. It just reminded me to do the thing. It's so inappropriate to do it in the middle of all this, but please make sure to like and subscribe, smash that notification bell. It takes a village, Pup Fam. Thank you for reminding me to do my job.
And thank you, Reflect the Sun. Much appreciated.
Oh my goodness.
Your love is always great.
Thank you. That's awesome. Cheers. I poured my 6 shots and my second glass of wine. Cheers.
6 shots and a glass of, that should be the name of our next or after show or something. 6 shots and a glass of wine. 6 shots
and a glass of wine. All that in a bag of chips. Okay. What do you want to show next?
So we're moving on to Israel stuff, right? I mean, we are in Israel stuff, right?
Can I just say, going to the, sorry, I asked you and then I was like, no, it's my turn. No, go ahead.
No, I didn't know where we're going anyway. So, I mean, they refused Wait, we had the second clip from Matt Miller.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Okay.
But where were
You
you
gonna play
going?
that?
You had something to
I was
say?
going to talk about the AIPAC influence and the lies and the, the Hasbro that they've used on our politicians online. But go ahead. We'll do that after. This is good. I'm listening.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
You just said it doesn't ensure that Israel is going to fight a war against the Palestinian people. I thought the whole point was that they're not fighting the Palestinian
It is a
people,
good
they're fighting
correction.
Hamas.
It is a good correction, Matt. I thank you. It is a war against Hamas. That unfortunately has had tragic consequences for the Palestinian people. But of course,
can I just follow up on a point that it wasn't, I don't think, a slip of the tongue. So you've said this before in relation to Kylie's question, which is that you say that Hamas and Sinwar should bear in mind that what should draw them to a ceasefire is that Palestinian people are being killed. But your position is that no civilians, no Palestinian civilians should be being killed. So why do you raise that point, as a point of pressure on Hamas?
it is just a point of actual fact.
But the
proposal.
Not be being
Of course,
killed. So,
of course.
But the fact you're raising it, the U.S. government raises this as a point of pressure on Hamas.
The proposal on the table is a ceasefire. A ceasefire to a war that has led to thousands of innocent Palestinians been killed.
Yeah, and your position is that innocent
that it
civilians should not be being
of
killed.
course,
But
of course.
you raise this.
No, hold on, Thomas.
You've done this before, and so have other U.S.
Absolutely,
officials.
they should not be killed, but they are being killed in a war,
And
and we
your
want to
position
see,
is that they-
that
your
war end.
position
And
is
if
that they
Hamas
should not-
accepted the proposal, the war would come to an immediate halt for at least 6 weeks, and we would try to turn it into something more.
But
durable.
it just feels rather contradictory if your position is that Palestinian civilians should not be being killed, to raise that as a specific point of pressure on Hamas to come to a ceasefire.
It is acknowledging the obvious reality,
But
the
an
harsh
obvious
reality of this
reality
conflict. It is not at all an endorsement of the tragic consequences. It's an acknowledgement of reality. The president talked about this too. We've seen tremendous death and destruction over the past 8 months. We want to avoid that going forward, and the way to do that is to get a ceasefire.
What? Lila, how dare you, Lila? How dare? Okay. Wait, she's back just in time to explain herself on the big screen.
What'd you do to me?
Look at you. You deserve that. You left me hanging here.
I did. I got frozen just as that horrible Matt Miller was talking about the immediate ceasefire that's only in Hamas's hands while we keep shipping billions of dollars of bombs to Netanyahu, and there's nothing we could do.
And that's the obvious piece to this is like,
I got it. Sorry, I got to wipe in front of my camera to get my color back.
Yeah. If we weren't funding them and providing bombs and providing cover at the with the ICC and at United Nations,
how many times have we vetoed a ceasefire?
You could make that argument, but we know what kills people is the money and the bombs and the weapons, and they're all coming from us, and we're still funding them, giving them all the, we're threatening to maybe if you commit more genocide, we might revisit this relationship a little bit.
Yeah.
Like not, hey, we're going to turn against you on this one.
Never turn against, never stop the flow of arms, never stop covering for you. We're going to censure the ICC for the arrest warrants that they put out. That, by the way, was BBC journalist Tom Bateman. I wanted to just give him props. And before that was Liel Stenage, the one who sometimes guests with Brianna Joy Gray. But the thing where he kept talking about the point of pressure, like it feels so much like the human shield argument, right? Like, listen, if you value human life, then even if your enemy uses a human shield, you don't shoot. You're not like, they use human shields, so now we're going to kill the kid to get to the bad guy. Like that logic.
Right.
And by the way, I mean, it's been disproven. It's been shown by Bet Salam and lots of other human rights organizations that they do not use human shields. And in fact, we've now seen a multitude of proof video of Israelis using Palestinians as human shields. But
what can Palestinians do is the point. They are so helpless in this whole situation. And so
especially
to keep blaming Hamas for the continued murder and starvation of 1 million civilians who have no say in this matter.
Yeah.
It's the excuse falls short.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss the video of the major that resigned.
Yes.
I feel like,
yeah, there have been at least 8 high-profile resignations now from Biden's administration. This is the latest one, right?
This is the latest, and he's not, as high profile as many, but I feel like he makes a good case here, and it's important.
Israel's response to October 7th troubled former Army Major Harrison Mann from the start.
They were dropping 6,000 bombs a day. They were burning through munitions,
exhausting their supply.
It was very easy to link our support, which I was part of, to the killing in Gaza.
What bothered this intelligence officer specializing in the Middle East the most? His view that the Israelis were targeting Palestinian civilians indiscriminately and that U.S. weapons made it possible.
Were the Israelis using American weapons against civilians in Gaza?
I can say almost certainly yes.
But were they doing so intentionally?
I don't know how you kill 35,000 civilians by accident.
Israel insists it's doing its best to limit civilian casualties and that Hamas uses civilians as human shields. But that wasn't enough. Weeks later, Mann resigned, later explaining in a letter.
At some point, whatever the justification, you're either advancing a policy that enables the mass starvation of children or you're not.
You felt your work was directly connected to starving children.
Yes.
There's going to be times when there's members that have different views. Certainly your right to go ahead and get out, and I'll just leave it at that.
I decided I would resign.
More than a half dozen government officials have publicly resigned to protest U.S. support for Israel's war. Mann is the first from the military, the first from the intelligence community, and the first who's Jewish.
I think it's important to understand, just this is from a security perspective, Israel is not under existential threat.
And what do you say to American Jews who would say to you, what are you talking about?
If you are somebody who is really motivated by the concern to protect Jewish life, you should be fighting for them to conduct it in a way that does not turn basically the whole world against them.
The grandson of Jews who fled the anti-Semitism of Eastern Europe knows his stance will create some harsh blowback.
I didn't really feel like I had that much of a choice.
But he feels the only way to influence U.S. policy is to no longer assist those who make it. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Washington.
So that was pretty powerful. That's the second Jewish person who's resigned in the last 2 or 3 weeks was Lily Greenberg Call. But then just this week, another person resigned from the State Department after their report about the intentional cause of famine for Palestinians in Gaza was altered by the higher-ups at the State Department, basically lied about. And she, Stacey Gilbert, also resigned. Yeah. Basically what they did, they made, here's the thing. If the U.S. admits that Israel's doing war crimes, which intentional starvation is a war crime, as are so many of the other things that they've done, then the U.S. is also culpable for sending arms to somebody doing, blocking aid, causing a famine, intentionally, focused on targeting civilians. All of that, those are war crimes. And you're not supposed to give weapons to people who are committing war crimes. So that's, they're trying to absolve Israel, so they absolve themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. And the case is clear. I mean, when you're fighting the ICC, when you're fighting the United Nations, when you're fighting all the aid groups that are telling you this is a famine, what are we doing? There's no investigation. We're allowing Israel to investigate themselves of the potential war crimes that the entire world is screaming are happening.
Right.
And we have footage of happening. And we know logically they are happening.
Yeah.
It's not debatable but all that stuff we know is happening. You can't just blame Hamas over and over again, who does not, the Palestinians have no control over Hamas's actions.
But also, Hamas didn't come about in a bubble. There is You cannot take away the context of a 75-year occupation and an ongoing ethnic cleansing. And how are people supposed to fight for their liberation? Like, these people are being kept in an open air concentration camp. They aren't allowed to leave. They don't have an airport. They aren't allowed to have their own military, really. They are under heavy blockades. So
yes,
like,
but if October 7th didn't happen, none of this would have gone down. If you didn't fight to be on the bus or have drinking water that wasn't that was shared, if you didn't do all these things that people did for civil rights, there wouldn't be a problem. That's the U.S. position. If they would have not asked for being treated like equals, we wouldn't have a problem here.
Yeah.
And so we're getting all
violence when you rise up against the state that's committing like a structural violence against you. Yeah.
Right. And all this has been able to continue forever in the US because the media is just, they put this narrative out there that it's complicated over there and has never been complicated. And they're doing it now. They're like, oh, how to think through the moral tangle in Gaza.
Tangle. There's no tangle. They are
complicated.
An group of people who are completely dominated by a state that has the biggest, most powerful country in the world supporting them. I mean, it's insane. Here's another media embarrassment. This is from the New York Times. In the West Bank, guns and a locked gate signal a town's new residents. I mean, since the war in Gaza began, armed Israeli settlers, often accompanied by the army, have stepped up seizures of land long used by Palestinians. No, they are stealing land with the protection of the Israeli government. They're stealing it, not long used by Palestinians. It's their home. Guns and a locked gate signal. Like, I mean, what a pretzel you have to turn yourself into not to say
massive,
like stealing pretzel. People's home. Yeah.
And this one caught my eye too. Israel maintains a shadowy hospital in the desert for Gaza detainees. Critics allege mistreatment.
It's a torture camp. And the whistleblowers were camp. Israeli. They were Israeli whistleblowers who were there, who said that they had to amputate people's limbs because of the tight plastic binding that they had. They humiliated them. They peed on them. They stripped them. It's a shadowy hospital, Pat.
I mean, that is the lock on reality that our media holds, really. It's like he who's trying to put out an article about this concentration camp, and whoever wrote the piece probably wrote a really good piece exposing some of the horrors of this place. But editors get a hold of it and they change the headlines. You run these things through Israeli press people, even like we've seen that's the case at CNN.
Yeah, and actually, because the CNN one, this was about, we were deciding which of the two graphics to show. Shadowy hospital is more egregious. The CNN one said a detention camp, right? Was that the headline? I think we didn't have enough space because we always overdo the graphics. But then this was just revealed earlier. I think it was yesterday that. Was this yesterday or today? Okay, look at that. Foreign interference in an election year, forcing an unpopular bill through Congress that stole about $100 billion from your taxes to squander on fruitless, unwinnable wars. Business as usual. Israel secretly targets U.S. lawmakers with influence campaign on Gaza war. Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs ordered the operation, which used fake social media accounts urging U.S. lawmakers to fund Israel's military, according to officials and documents about the effort. Haaretz published something that went even more in depth that now I'm going to put my readers on because, oh my God, it's really small.
That's some fine print for my age.
But here, okay, according to Haaretz, after October 7th, official Israel launched a secret online campaign in which Islamophobic and anti-Palestinian propaganda was served to progressive legislators in the U.S. and the Black community. Propaganda themes included Hamas sex crimes, Arab slave trade, Muslim migrants in Canada looking to establish a Sharia state, and anti-Semitism on American campuses. They created fake news websites and fake concerned citizens accounts and used ChatGPT to generate content. The amounts of paranoia and megalomania. Okay, so then that's his commentary. But so, I just saw today that it's in the forward that Columbia University is hiring security for its Jewish students. The only people who have been hurt on Columbia's campus are the pro-Palestinian protesters before the encampments who were sprayed with skunk spray several months ago. And then when the president called in the NYPD and sent dozens of people to the hospital, they were all pro-Palestinian protesters who were peaceful. And, we saw with the ADL claiming that campus protests and anybody calling for a ceasefire or who was at all pro-Palestine, that all of that counts as anti-Semitism.
Yeah, they conflated it intentionally. They know what they're doing. It's garbage.
And here's the other thing, and I wanted to dig deeper, but Pew Research was calling out, I think like sometime last year, there was a report about how 50% of high school students don't believe in the Holocaust or don't believe that it existed. And Pew Research showed that most of the respondents for the poll that they used to claim that were people who were paid to fill out polls, as opposed to the way more respected pollsters like Pew and other pollsters will do their polling is they try to get a demographic. You're not paid for as many answers as you fill out for as many different polls. So you get a much more accurate. Yeah. And for them, it was 3%.
Manipulation.
But, yeah.
And that's what that showed that Snowden just shared. $100 million, which was
billion.
My read on it is a lot of that money was spent to propagandize the actual politicians directly. So they're creating a bubble around these politicians to make it seem like the public still thinks this is murky waters. That it's, you've got people on both sides, anti-Semitism. So don't, it gives them cover publicly to say, I'm so concerned about my Israeli citizens who are concerned about anti-Semitism. It prolongs this false narrative, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when college campuses act on it, both because of these sorts of, AIPAC funded
bullshit reports,
right? And because they're big donors like pedophile, rapist, sex trafficker, Robert Kraft and Bill Ackman's of the world threaten to withhold their money, you get to say, oh, Jews feel unsafe on campus. But it was just like in the real world, it's the Palestinians or the pro-Palestinian students who are actually being harmed.
And it makes the case even harder for free public education because, you got these higher institutions, their economic success is based on profits for their shareholders. And their shareholders are, some of the vile people in the world just making money off college kids, for one. Yeah. But then because of that, they're all invested in weapons companies. Why do we want our fucking colleges invested in weapons companies?
You're going to be in forever debt because your money is going to BlackRock and, Northrop Grumman and all those places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boeing. All right.
You're going to get out of school. You're going to be an engineer. You're going to get out of school with $250,000 in debt. Well, that Northrop Grumman, whatever it's called, Gunthrop. I don't know, but
Northrop Grumman. We've had so many shots for those of you.
They're going to pay you 4 times the starting job as an engineer to go work for them for a couple years, and you've already heard good things about them because the donors of the college are like pushing them on you, and it's a mess that. Capitalism has ruined everything in this country. Like extreme capitalism has just wrecked things.
Yeah. Because if you wanted to go into, public defenders, or if you wanted to do something that was truly a nonprofit endeavor, you're never going to be like,
you can't afford to benefit society.
Yeah, exactly. That is all part of the plan. Pat, we
Wheel?
are, yeah, we should do the wheel because I'm realizing like we are late. We are late. It's late. Okay. Oh my God. Lots of shots.
You're going to hit shots. That's how you do it.
Look at that.
Okay. I'll just push the button on it. Here's a little comedy for us.
We got a guy in the White House running for his second term, has no idea he's in his first. Biden is the most dehydrated president we ever had. I want to tell you about corn pop, man. This motherfucker shakes hands with ghosts when he's done. Put it in, Casper. Netflix is doing a documentary about him. What's it gonna be called? Biden My Time. I got a O? Really? The guy's 80 fucking 2. Jesus Christ. He's the leader of the free world. He shouldn't be in the house. He should be in a home. Shouldn't be president. He should be resident.
Okay, Jamie Kennedy. Look at that.
And obviously, I don't give a shit how old he is. It's his mental acuity. He's gone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not.
He's totally
age.
gone.
Bernie could do it. Not that I'm pro Bernie now, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, that's my asterisk. You got to add an asterisk there.
I know every time. All right. What do you think? Are we going to dive into a quick 2024? I feel like
So we'd have 2024 and economy left.
an economy. This
Which
keeps
one?
happening for us.
Let's 2024 it. Why not?
Yeah, especially because this was, I just think, devastating. Dying empire led by bad people. This is the poll amongst young voters who are just in despair. Answer whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. It doesn't matter who wins elections, nothing changes. Strongly agree, somewhat agree, together are over 50%. I never know what to make of the neither agree or disagree. But that doesn't give people a lot of hope and change. That's
I'm telling you, young people are not coming out for Biden, and that's now. I mean, they're already not coming out for him. And if you think in the next 3-4 months that's going to change before we get to November, Israel is not going to get better for Biden. He's not going to be able to fix it in a way that the public accepts it. Student loans, if you really have delayed student loan payments like I have, as much as you possibly fucking can, you are now going to start paying them. So that's going to be like the pain that's going to hit with that. These kids on campuses are getting really locked up.
But they're actually up. There is more student debt now. But go ahead. Sorry. Yes, getting locked up.
So there's that. I mean, he's done nothing on. He's amped up the police force. The cop cities are everywhere. He's done jack shit on COVID. Like, there's no data that's going to come out that's going to get people are going to go, oh, now I can vote for Biden. They're like, now as a young person, now it's better for me. Thanks to Biden. It's not going to change from now until November. Now, Trump stuff could change, and that could affect some people's votes who care about things. But young people, they're so dismissive of not giving a shit because they realize the Trump stuff it's not that different. It's not fundamentally like they have real issues.
And all the stuff that libs are so excited, Trump just was indicted on 34, found guilty on 34 different charges, which, I mean, he's gross. He's so gross, but they didn't even do the charges against him. They should have. Like the insurrection, that could have been something, right? Or all of his, trying to hawk things from the White House, or like killing a general in Iran, like extrajudicially.
Of course.
Like there are actual crimes, and you're going to weigh that against the guy doing a genocide right now. So like,
yeah, I mean, of all the things, the covering up a sex with a sex worker, whatever, porn star, like, that's the most, everybody knew he did that. Everybody knew from the jump. So like when he came out as guilty on that, it's been so factored in.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree he should face all the legal ramifications. He's a grifter. He has been from the start. He's a complete fraud, but it's not pushing the needle. It's not going to change young people's minds, especially by the election.
It's not going to change it. And also they have no allegiance. Like, why would they? They have no sort of romanticism about the Democratic Party. Like, they're not, oh, it's the party of FDR, because it's been, almost a century since they were that party. And every Democratic president has worked against that history intentionally, right? The neoliberalism of the Democratic Party, started really under Carter, but was heavily reinforced by Clinton for his 8 years of smashing the welfare state, who was funded, by the way, just as a reminder, the Democratic Leadership Council that Clinton was part of, funded by the Koch brothers. Like, this has been a bipartisan effort. And they're too smart. They're so much more knowledgeable than the boomer set. They don't watch cable news, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed for them, no matter who's president. The last time the minimum wage went up was under George W. Bush.
And Tina makes a good point. I just want to bring this up. It's the financial fraud, not the sex and lies. Yeah, it is. But like, there's so much distrust in politics that it's all factored into everybody fraud, he did this illegal shit with the money but it's all about the sex stuff. So people just don't care. You're not going to convince them to care.
And it's definitely not worse to them than a genocide. And also, almost everybody in Congress has financial corruption, right? Whether it's
so baked into distrust of government.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi or what, that's who they all are. So,
and it does evoke Bill Clinton, that the Republicans went on this massive spree to get him over the blowjob. And he did the blowjob and it was all a cover up.
Yeah.
But
that's how how's our economy? Started.
I can't afford my rent. You put all that time into that.
Yeah.
And the other crimes that he's done are actually more apparent. Like, they're more, it's more a crime against our public than the sex part to me and to most of the public. Like,
exactly. And those nobody wants to touch because it would bring everybody under scrutiny. That's how MoveOn.org started, remember? It was all about move on from the blowjob thing with Trump.
Pussy hats.
What's his name?
Pussy hats part 2 are coming back if Trump is president. I can't wait. What are they going to be?
Ugh, I don't know. Okay, wait. There were a couple of, I know. Okay, it's almost 7. We really have to go. There was a study that people keep pointing out, and I do think, I know we all know this, but moving right the way Biden has done with police, with war, with the asylum ban now, which he knows is illegal, that never gets the people you're going for. Like, the people who actually think that immigration is a problem, which they never do on humanitarian level, right?
Look, this was the impetus for this show topic that we're talking about. But of all the things, the asylum ban, an executive order, because he couldn't get our own government wouldn't agree on being as right as the Republicans wouldn't agree on Biden being as right as they wanted.
Democrats
now he's like, I'm
going
to force the whole world to be as right as the Republicans wanted. That's his new plan.
Yep.
And meanwhile, it's all for nothing. Look, there's real public concern about this issue because it's been created in the media.
Well, yeah, because they make it seem like that's why you don't have clean water in Atlanta, where they just spent, $100 million for Cop City, but they had to boil their water for 2 days, or you don't have, you can't afford a home, or, all those different things they're going to blame on immigrants, which is a lie. But they're never going to deal with the root causes, either for immigrants seeking asylum, which is, sorry. And I just think the U.S. is like the greatest evil in the world, right? Like, maybe we wouldn't have so many people seeking asylum if we didn't have blockades on Venezuela and Cuba, and we didn't fund far right insurgents against, you know, socialist, democratically elected presidents. And, you know, like, but that's not what people are actually concerned about, because the fire's been stoked, because you don't want to deal with the fact that we've done all of that to the global South. And also here at home, we've allowed lobbyists to prohibit our government from regulating any businesses. And people are in dire financial straits right now. And it's what we all learned like in grade school when I learned about World War II, that the way that Hitler rose to power is they blamed the Jews for all the maladies coming out of the Great Depression and the financial collapse that had happened after the First World War. Like, we learned what that is, and we're doing it again.
So instead of trying to win the next election FDR style and offering programs that basically buy votes, because the public, you can buy our votes, you could do some good for the public, and you're going to get votes. He's otherizing Mexicans with his policy.
Yep.
He's agreeing with Republicans on them being the problem, and the Mexico border is somehow an issue.
Right.
So what does that do? Where's the left in this? Like, we're supposed to come out and vote for this guy who's abandoned border policies of the left, abandoned COVID, left us all hung to dry on COVID, supporting the genocide. None of this is playing well. It's not going to play well. He's a loser. He's already lost. Sorry, he's already lost.
He is lost. And even the people who are like, oh, you need to replace him if you want not to get Trump, the people they want to replace him with are basically just younger versions of him. They
are, but I mean, I do think they have a chance of beating Trump if they replace Biden. I still think that is their best option.
But that's just like staving off the death of the collapse of our empire. It's not anybody who would actually fix any of the problems. It's just like
100%, because you're not going to get that position
on it.
You have pledged allegiance to all the shit that Biden supports. He's signing his donors off on like, I agree, this guy's good. You know, I mean, that's basically how it works. But I think as a leftist, forcing that change at the convention is good for the left. I think it does show that like our influence affected the public perception of him so badly that we have influence, and we will continue to have influence. So
I hope so. And I think so. And I mean, I don't want to sound like Obama or Democrats from the, 2008, but demographics, I hope, are destiny, because I do think that, it's not fair to them. It shouldn't be this way. But I do think that the young people might be able to affect some change. And, Reflect the Sun, it's so interesting because we didn't cover this and it's late, so we won't. But, the fact that we don't have clean drinking water in so much of our own country, we don't have clean air, we don't have clean food. Like, yes, I think, we are going to have major issues with climate refugees, but we're all going to be hung out to dry by the wealthy people because they're not investing in infrastructure on any level.
Yeah, we're not getting into our economy section because it's too late, unfortunately. But I just want to bring up one good thing, and this is the convergence. This is what we need. We need the fight for Palestine to be converged with the fight for labor rights, which converges with COVID to get some protections at work.
People power.
But so Amazon labor is joining the Teamsters. They joined the Teamsters. I think this is where we have some strength and hope.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I hope that things don't get co-opted. But yes, I think that the labor unions and the working class, I mean, I am sometimes skeptical about the people in power, but certainly you're better to be unionized than not. And working class power is all we all have. That solidarity is the only thing that will lead us out of this. So That's that is something to commend. That is exciting. See, you helped me find my
something,
but
positive.
It's also just a little bit like at the bottom of my glass, which is empty. All right. Oh, hey, show note. We will not have a show on Sunday. The shit show will not be there on this Sunday because Xander graduates and we have some graduation functions.
This kids first policy years. It's sus. I don't know.
First. I know.
I would never put my cat first. I'm just
I know she was the star of the whole show, but I hear what you're saying. In theory, you wouldn't.
We'll be back on Wednesday. No big.
We'll be back next Wednesday. You all are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for helping us find joy a couple times a week. We really appreciate all of you.
Absolutely. And Lila found this clip at the end that we're going to go out on with our one good thing. And
it's from Ireland. Yeah, go ahead. You want to say?
I just wanted to say we're down to the kids. We're down. It's getting one good thing. It's getting. We have to go younger and younger to find one good thing. But this is a uplifting video that Lila found
about Europe's only national free day of creativity for young people. Over 1,000 free activities. Search for your spark and find it. Keep punching up. Love you guys. Cheers.
Cheers.